Good afternoon. We are Muñóz Daniel and my partner Melina de Jesús Reyes. Well, we are students of the major English language, and we are so glad to present you the progress of our thesis. How the stress affect the learning of our EFL in the ELI students at UAQROO. Now my partner will give you a summary of our thesis.
So for starting our abstract, we know stress can affect every aspect of our lives, including scholar one. Um, a student put much pressure and effort on them trying to learn a foreign language. So this study focuses on identifying how stress affect in the learning of an EFL. And this student can also be relevant for teachers and students because they can take into account how distinct factors can affect or can cause this stress. So for our background, stress is a negative emotion and can have an impact on their learning and their development. So students feel the necessity to having good grades more than learn a foreign language. And this stress can be one of the main reasons of that. For the purposes of this study is identify how stress influences in the learning of an EFL in English language students. So the results of this study can be helpful for teachers and students, as we mentioned before, because teachers can be aware of different factors and implement new strategies to teach the language. Now, my partner Daniel is going to explain the next part.
Okay, regarding the wondering, the main motivations for choosing the subject of stress as an influence on English as a foreign language was our own experience as English language students. So, during these years, we both suffered from stress. This was caused by various reasons, but Melina and I came to the conclusion that this affected us in our learning of English in a negative way. So, my partner and I asked ourselves how the stress affected our classmates and the learning of English, and what were the causes of, say, the stress. So, our research question is how does the stress impact students in EFL major? Okay. Now, regarding the theoretical framework, investigation related to ours, there are four that are the most important. The first is the stress theory of Hansel, who is well known as the father of stress. He said that the stress was presented in an individual during the entire period of exposure to a non-specific demand. That means that a situation where the individual felt overwhelmed. Okay. And the second one is the research of Yasankara Reddy and his collaborators. They said that certain levels of stress make students achieve optimal performance, but if that stress is mismanaged, it can really affect the students. Okay. Now, regarding our methodology, in this research, it was necessary to implement a quantitative method for the first part and a qualitative method to collect the data. Okay. In the first phase, it's necessary a quantitative design because the first step of this investigation is to know what number of students have a high level of stress to continue with qualitative phase. In this one, once the students with high levels of stress results are obtained, and that will be used to determine how this stress influence their achievement in the learning of an EFL. Okay. So, the research participants of this study will be students from the Universidad Autónoma de Quintana Roo. There are students from the English language major to first to 7 semesters, morning and afternoon shift. It expects that all of these students obtain a representative sample of 8 students, which demonstrates more stress in the results. Now, regarding the instruments, is the first is perceived stress scale of COE. This scale is an instrument will help us to find students with high stress rate to later learn how that stress affect them in the learning English. For this, we will use the following instrument that is an interview script. Uh, in this script, will help us to know in more detail how the stress of these students affect the before mentioned, what were the triggers of such a stress, and whether it affected their school performance, and whether there was positive or negative influence. Same for collecting personal information concerning that their school life. Okay, so this is our progress of our thesis. So thanks for watching and goodbye.
Thank you.